I don't want to be strong like man who look pretty. I want to be strong like bitch that fight bears in the forest.
Welcome to another episode of Bitch vs. Bear with your hosts, me, Amber, my bestie, Sydney. Woohoo! We are co-owners of Shield Maiden Training Co., and this is a show where we bitch, laugh, and chat about all things fitness and wellness related to women and the LGBTQIA plus community. Oh my gosh. My brain skipped back to Shield Maiden.
You're just so excited.
Am I, though?
I think you are.
Okay. What do we got going on today?
Today, we're talking about injuries.
Oh, boy.
There's like no better way. I can't make it fun. Like, injuries suck.
Okay.
Like, we all know they suck.
Yeah.
They disrupt our routines. They hold us back. They can make even like the simplest activities like feel stupid and impossible.
Fair. Yeah.
For women and LGBTQ plus folks, injuries come with their own set of challenges, from access to healthcare to cultural stigmas around fitness and recovery.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Don't worry. We have you covered in this episode. I mean, we don't physically have you covered, but we will talk about how to avoid injuries, mitigate their impact, and what to do if you're dealing with a chronic injury.
Great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. Let's start by getting real about how frustrating injuries can be.
They're real frustrating.
They're real fucking frustrating. Whether it's a sprained ankle, tendonitis, or a more serious condition like a torn ACL, injuries are major suckfests.
Yeah.
And they can just like deteriorate your emotional well-being as well as your physical well-being. Mm-hmm. And because this is a show for women and LGBTQ plus folks, injuries can feel even more isolating.
Ah, yes.
They can take a toll on us physically, but also mentally. And for a lot of us, fitness is a safe space.
Yeah.
Despite some of the things that we talk about on the show, we use it to relieve stress, to connect with others, to feel empowered in our own bodies. Mm-hmm. And when that's all suddenly taken away by an injury, it can feel devastating.
Yeah.
Especially for those in marginalized communities who already face so many barriers in accessing spaces where they feel comfortable.
Oh my gosh.
It just is so awful.
It really is. It really is. And, there's often this sense of disconnection from your body. And it can be especially tough when you've been working toward a fitness goal or using movement as a form of emotional support. Injuries can make you feel like you're starting over from scratch, and that is so discouraging. So let's talk about something we all wish we were better at. Preventing injuries. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Prevention is key, but the reality is that it's not always top of mind until we're actually sidelined by an unexpected injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem. So prevention starts with understanding your body and its limitations. Warm-ups are critical, but they're often rushed or skipped over entirely.
Whoops.
I definitely don't hop right on the wall at the climbing gym without doing any stretching.
You'll be so proud of me. This morning, I actually did warm up because what I noticed was there was a day, maybe last week or the week before, where I actually did a full workout before, ended up climbing with some friends. I think it was like Lauren and a couple other people. And I was like, wow, I was able to and I did a bunch of up downs. Like, I really warmed up. And I mean, I think the first climb that I did with them, I just topped right onto a 10 minus because I had been doing, like a 5-7 on an auto belay that I did 3 times or something. So I felt really, really warmed up. And I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can replicate that feeling. And you know what? I did. So I understand that warm-ups are critical.
They're so important.
Yeah, and you would think as a lifelong athlete, I would know this by now.
But you do.
I do.
You do know it.
I do know it. But but
There's a difference. There's a disconnect between knowing and putting it into practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. So during our warm-ups, we want to focus on dynamic stretching before your workout to get your muscles and joints ready for action. Another major aspect of injury prevention is cross-training. Strengthening your whole body, not just the muscles you use most in your sport or activity. This is especially important for women and LGBTQ plus folks who might be newer to certain fitness spaces. Goodness, this is a tough sentence.
Only for one of us.
Only for one of us. You gave me a lot to say.
I did.
It's really
this
messing
is
with me.
Yeah. This is your whole episode, essentially.
I don't know why. Okay, so for folks who might be newer to certain fitness spaces where the emphasis is often on cardio or body aesthetics rather than functional strength.
Yeah. That was hard for you.
That was really hard for me.
Yeah.
I warmed up and everything.
And it just, yeah, you are. Yeah. Sometimes you can overwarm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one of the things about injury prevention is form. And there's a shit ton of advice out there. But Amber, what should people really be focusing on when it comes to proper technique?
That's a good question. Form is everything. If you're lifting weights, doing yoga, or even going for a run, your form can make or break your body over time. The best way to ensure good form is to get professional guidance, either from a trainer, a physical therapist, or even by taking a few specialized classes to learn the basics. It doesn't, sometimes that feels cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it has to be you're signing up for a year-long contract. You're, spending hundreds and hundreds on personal trainers. It could just be taking a class for basics, a couple sessions with a personal trainer to learn the basics of the movements you want to do.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that you are getting and learning and starting with a good base, a good foundation.
What I've noticed is a lot of gym spaces are starting to even label those types of classes. So they'll be like foundations or back to basics, like those kinds, where it's inviting people to sign up who either need a refresher or might be newer so that they can lay that good groundwork. And, I think coming into the injury prevention side of things, like having access to those can be really important because you're like, okay, well, at least now I know what it's supposed to look like and also what it's not supposed to look like.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm learning that it should feel like this and not that.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's also so important, and I cannot stress this enough, to listen to your body. Pain is your body's way of telling you something is wrong. And too often, people push through it. I feel like we hear that a lot. Like, just push through the pain.
Yeah.
Just push past it.
Just push past it.
No, stop.
Is it you in your yoga practice? Somebody, I think it is you. You're like, you should not be feeling pain. Pain and discomfort are different.
Yes.
Like if something
I do talk about that.
Yeah, if something is painful, that's not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's
so funny.
If it's uncomfortable, that's different than being in pain. And
Yes.
like I always think about that. And I'm like, am I uncomfortable or is this painful?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of times where I'm doing something, I'm like, this is a little uncomfortable, but really having that body awareness to be like, no, this is painful. I should stop this.
Yeah. And it can take time to develop that communication with you and your body and learning okay, this isn't pain. This is uncomfortable, or this is my muscles are working hard.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
Yeah.
Which is me. I've had to learn that.
Which is me. My muscles are working hard. It's okay. They will be fine.
I don't like the way this feels, but it's not painful and it's not going to damage my body.
Yeah. That's such solid advice. And learning that it can be really, it's so vital.
Yeah.
It can be super hard to slow down when you're trying to to push ourselves to be like, no, you know what? Like, I don't just want to quit. I don't want to just stop. Like, I might be, but being mindful can really save us from
Oh my gosh.
months or years of discomfort because we did something
Yes.
silly.
Yeah. Like that pain trigger is so important to pay attention to. Because in sports and like in what you're, I mean, I guess there are some like contact sports where pain happens, but like even then, don't do it. I don't know. I don't know what to say for that. But like in most things that we do in fitness, pain should not happen.
Yes. Yeah.
You should not be feeling pain.
Yeah.
And if you do and you continue to push through that, that is what leads to these chronic issues
Yeah.
down the road.
Yep.
And like, just stop. Listen to your body.
Listen to your body.
If you get nothing outside of this episode,
Listen
listen to your body and stop when it says pain.
Yeah. Okay, great. So say you've had a pain and you've tried to push through it and now the worst has happened. You've actually got an injury. So what do you do now? Like, how do you recover both physically and also like mentally from that?
That can be so hard. So the first step is to stop what you're doing and assess the injury. Continuing to push through that pain will often lead to something more severe, which is what we do not want. Like if you're already in pain, stop before it gets worse.
Red light.
Red light. Ice, rest, and compression can help in the early stages, but it's also important to seek out medical advice as soon as possible, especially for injuries that don't improve with rest. It's also important to acknowledge the mental toll injuries can take, especially for people who are using fitness as a way to manage stress, anxiety, or even gender dysphoria. For LGBTQ plus folks in particular, fitness can be a space of self-affirmation. And losing that space due to injury can feel really destabilizing. If you find yourself feeling down or anxious about your injury, it's okay to seek out support, whether that's through a therapist, a support group, or even other friends who can relate to what you're dealing with or the injuries or all the things.
Yeah.
And I think part of that mental break, I don't know if you talk about this later, but part of that mental part of the injury can be, then how do you go back?
Yeah.
How do you
How
go
do I
back
get-
to
yeah.
pushing yourself?
How do I get back there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like it can be really hard. Like I know you've had injuries, I've had a knee issue. It can be hard to then go back to lifting heavy, to running, to pushing ourselves to do those things that cause the pain.
Yeah. I mean, I still now it's been 2 years and I still can't get over the mental hurdle of doing a box jump. I am physically capable of doing a box jump, but because it was one of the contributing factors in an injury, it's just so hard for me to get back to that because I'm just like, what if? And I know that it was a weird thing where it was combination and like all those kinds of things, but yeah, trying to get back there, I'm physically fine. Yes. I can do it. I've done it. I've actually done it.
Yeah.
But it was definitely tough and still is tough. And like I don't seek out that type of exercise because I'm just like, it makes me uncomfortable.
It can be very hard to come back from an injury mentally. Once you're physically capable.
Yeah. It really, really can. And I think one of the things that I have learned is to give yourself permission to take a break and heal. Like I used to be one of those people who was like, I'm going to lose all my fitness. But you don't.
No.
And it's okay to ask for help. There is an emotional side of recovery in dealing with injuries, and it's just as important as the physical side. It's just as important as making sure you're going to PT and those things, like making sure that you don't have a, brain barrier to being like, or trying to push through it and get back too soon, which is the flip side. So like there's two sides of that, like mental side of it, which is I'm going to get back immediately, or that's not something I ever want to do again.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
All right.
Let's dive into something that a lot of people in the fitness world deal with, but don't always talk about.
Ooh.
Chronic injuries.
Ugh.
Whether it's that nagging knee problem, that lower back pain, or that repetitive strain that we get dealing with an injury that doesn't seem to ever really go away and
Yeah.
can be frustrating and also incredibly limiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see why this episode is for me.
You're catching on.
I'm with you. I'm here. I made it. All right. So chronic injuries can be really tough because they often limit your range of activities or the intensity of your workouts. One thing that can help is adjusting your fitness routine. If running is causing constant knee pain, feel that, you might want to try swimming or cycling. It's important to modify your activities rather than just giving up entirely. Strengthening surrounding muscles, focusing on flexibility, and building endurance slowly can sometimes mitigate the impact of chronic injuries. Another key factor is proper management, which often includes seeing a physical therapist, chiropractor, or other specialist regularly. Chronic injuries require consistent care. It's not about fixing the injury overnight, but learning how to manage it effectively so you can continue living an active life. Yeah. It's really tough, especially, again, I feel like chronic injuries can be really hard because it isn't like, okay, I need 4 sessions with a physical therapist and then I'm okay to move on my own.
Yeah.
It could be something that you need to continually go back to the physical therapist, the doctor, the whatever, to continue getting care for.
Chronic injuries to me are just one of those things where it's like your car, you just always need maintenance.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how much we want to say like, oh, our car, whatever, like you always have to get an oil change.
Yeah.
You have to rotate your tires. You have to clean the air filter. A chronic injury is the same thing of like, you're going to need to manage that. You're going to need to make sure that, you're resting when you need to rest, that maybe you're taking some supplements, maybe once a month you're seeing your physical therapist. Just, it's one of those things and it's annoying, but if you can find a system for management, then it becomes so much more enjoyable and able to live that active lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Okay.
For women and LGBTQ individuals, especially those who, face all of those challenges in accessing consistent care, what advice would you give?
Don't get hurt. All right. So if you do get hurt, access to care is obviously a huge issue, especially in communities that face discrimination in healthcare. I feel like we've talked about this a lot. For LGBTQ plus folks, it's important to find a medical professional who respects your identity and listens to your concerns. If you're struggling to find care, seek out online communities or local LGBTQ plus wellness centers for recommendations on LGBTQ-friendly practitioners. Sometimes finding a supportive healthcare provider makes all the difference in how we manage our bodies long term. It's so important to find healthcare providers that you're comfortable with, that listen to you,
that you feel safe just in and existing in that space. It's
like if you don't like your healthcare provider, you're much less likely to go see them.
And you're less likely to be honest with them when they ask you. And then if you are honest with them, if they are not, supportive, then they tend to discredit you and it just becomes a cycle. So finding somebody that can help manage is incredibly important. Like I know we see a physical therapist who
Love her.
We love Allison. She's been on the podcast. She was like one of our first guests. But
like have her back on.
We should have her back on, especially with the new space.
That's right.
Yeah.
She's moving, let's see, when is this coming out? Mid-October? She
Yeah.
might be in her new space.
Yeah. Yeah, the new space. So, see?
So exciting.
Yeah, so exciting. Okay.
All right.
As we wrap up, I want to talk a little bit about the mindset shift that happens during recovery. Injuries can make you feel weak or like you've lost that progress or you're going to lose that progress.
Yep.
But recovery can also be a time to reconnect with your body and be really compassionate.
We love that.
We love that. It's an opportunity to slow down and to listen to your body. Sometimes we get so caught up in pushing our limits that we forget about the importance of rest. Rest takes dedication.
It does.
And yeah, rest and recovery are just as vital as the workouts or the activity, whatever it is. And for women and LGBTQ folks who often face external pressures to look a certain way or meet certain fitness standards, it can be liberating to focus on healing rather than pushing through the pain for the sake of performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Injuries suck. There's no doubt about it. But the process of recovery can be actually super empowering if we approach it with patience and self-care. And we love self-care.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So whether you're dealing with a recent injury, managing a chronic condition, or just trying to prevent future problems, which we always support, prevention is key. Remember, you're not alone. Like, we all at some point get an injury or have injuries.
Yeah.
And they don't define you. With the right tools and the support and the mindset, you can come back stronger, still be able to do the things you love to do, and just be happy. Don't let the injury suck you down into a pit of despair. The pit of despair.
Yeah, exactly. It can be hard.
Oh yeah.
It's very easy to fall into that spiral, and the I'm losing strength, I'm losing muscle, I'm never going to recover from this. What's the point of even trying?
And then I get back into it, and it is hard because I came back from an injury and I now have to like battle this thing, and like it's just easier to be like, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. Like, I can't lift as much as I was. I can't do box jumps anymore. I can't
run.
Yeah. Like getting up on the rig is too hard. Like whatever it is. Like it can be very hard to push past those I can'ts.
Yep.
But you should keep trying.
You can
slowly and compassionately.
And you can change it doesn't have to look the same as it did before your injury.
Maybe you try something new.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity. Try something different. Get away from those box jumps.
Exactly. I did. There we are.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or on the social medias, and share with everybody you know or don't know, or maybe don't want to know. Just share it.
Friends, enemies, frenemies.
Everybody.
Everyone.
All right. That's a wrap. Whether you are lifting weights or lifting each other up or recovering, let's keep breaking barriers, building strength, and embracing our rainbow of resilience. Until next time, bitches and bears, stay fierce and stay fabulous.